It was a sweltering summer day in Sarajevo. The year was 1914. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife Sophie were on a state visit. Their open car crawled through the crowded streets. The air crackled with anticipation. Unbeknownst to the Archduke, a group of assassins lurked in the throngs. Their mission: eliminate the heir and strike a blow for Serbian nationalism. As the car approached the appointed spot, a young man, Gavrilo Princip, gripped a pistol in his pocket. He saw his target. This was his moment, but fate had other plans. A sudden jostle from the crowd threw Princip off balance. He stumbled. His opportunity vanished. The Archduke's car passed unharmed. The world held its breath. The assassination attempt, a pivotal moment in history, had failed. But the world didn't know it yet. The fuse of war, primed and ready, remained unlit. For now. News of the failed assassination attempt spread like wildfire. Relief washed over the Austro-Hungarian Empire. The Archduke, shaken but unharmed, was hailed as a symbol of resilience. Yet the incident ignited a firestorm of accusations and recriminations. Austria-Hungary, outraged, pointed a finger at Serbia, accusing them of harboring terrorists. Serbia, though denying any involvement, trembled under the Austro-Hungarian fury. The Black Hand, the secret society behind the assassination plot, was thrown into disarray. Their failure brought unwanted scrutiny. Their network of operatives and sympathizers was at risk. Europe watched with bated breath. The balance of power, a delicate dance on the edge of a knife, threatened to topple. The failed assassination set off a flurry of diplomatic activity. Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany, alarmed by the escalating tensions, urged restraint from his Austrian allies. Russia, bound by treaty to protect Serbia, mobilized its troops, a dangerous gambit. In the hallowed halls of government across Europe, diplomats and statesmen worked tirelessly. They exchanged telegrams. They held emergency meetings. Their mission to prevent the simmering conflict from erupting into a full-blown war. The world watched, prayed, and hoped against hope. The Ottoman Empire, once a mighty power, now teetered on the brink of collapse. The simmering tensions in Europe threatened to spill over, igniting the tinderbox of ethnic and religious tensions within its borders. But with the Archduke's survival, the Ottoman Empire was granted a reprieve, however temporary. This day of execution allowed the Ottoman Empire to focus on much-needed internal reforms. They grappled with the rising tide of nationalism within its diverse population. The empire's fate hung precariously, its future uncertain. The absence of a global conflict offered a glimmer of hope for stability and modernization. Section 5. The Frustrated Artist, a World Without Führer. In a small German town, a young Adolf Hitler pursued his artistic ambitions. The art schools of Vienna had rejected him. He eked out a living selling postcards. The bitterness festered, a simmering rage against a world that refused to recognize his genius. Without the horrors of World War I to shape his worldview, Hitler's path remained uncertain. Would he find an outlet for his artistic frustrations? Would he channel his anger into politics? Or would he remain an obscure figure, a footnote in the annals of history? Section 6. The Ascent of the Industrial Age. Progress without war. With the specter of war receding, Europe entered a period of unprecedented technological advancement and economic prosperity. The great powers, their resources not diverted to a costly conflict, invested heavily in infrastructure, industry, and innovation. Germany, its industrial might burgeoning, emerged as an economic powerhouse. Russia, its vast resources finally being tapped, underwent rapid modernization. The United States, already on the rise, consolidated its position as a global leader in innovation. The world was on the cusp of a new era, driven by technological progress and interconnectedness. Section 7. The Lingering Shadow of Inequality. Civil rights in a world untested by war. The absence of global conflict had a profound impact on social movements across the globe. Without the shared experience of war to unite them, civil rights movements faced an uphill battle. The sacrifices made by marginalized groups during wartime, often instrumental in advancing their cause, were absent. Women, who had proven their worth in factories and fields during wartime, found their fight for equality stalled. The impetus for change, fueled by their wartime contributions, lost momentum. The struggle for civil rights continued, but the path was longer, the progress slower. Section 8. A World Not at Peace. Alternative conflicts and global tensions. The averted World War did not usher in an era of universal peace. Regional conflicts and proxy wars continued to erupt, fueled by nationalism, ideological clashes, and competition for resources. The absence of a global conflict allowed these smaller conflicts to fester and grow, often with devastating consequences. The absence of a clear enemy, a unifying threat, led to a fragmentation of international cooperation. The world, though not engulfed in a global war, was far from peaceful. The seeds of discord, sown in the fertile ground of nationalism and ambition, found new ways to sprout. Section 9. The Unforeseen Consequences. Reflecting on the Butterfly Effect. The averted assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand stands as a tantalizing what-if in the annals of history. It serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the interconnectedness of events. The world that might have been, a world without the horrors of two world wars, remains a subject of endless fascination. But it also highlights the unintended consequences of altering the past. Would a world without world wars have been a better place? Or would it have simply found different paths to conflict, different ways to manifest humanity's capacity for both good and evil? These questions linger, a reminder of the complexities of history and the elusive nature of what might have been. The missed shot that spared Archduke Franz Ferdinand's life sent ripples through Europe, but the immediate aftermath was far from serene. The initial reactions were a mix of relief and heightened tension. Leaders across Europe breathed a sigh of relief, but the political climate remained fraught with uncertainty. In Austria-Hungary, the failed attempt on the Archduke's life was seen as a direct affront to the empire. The government tightened security measures and cracked down on nationalist movements, particularly in the Balkans. The Archduke himself, though shaken, continued his tour, but with an increased sense of caution and a growing awareness of the volatile political landscape. Elsewhere in Europe, the reactions were varied. Germany, Austria-Hungary's ally, expressed strong support and solidarity, but there was an undercurrent of concern about the rising tensions in the region. France and Russia, on the other hand, watched the events unfold with a mix of apprehension and strategic calculation, aware that any spark in the Balkans could have far-reaching implications. The failed assassination did not immediately lead to large-scale conflict, but it did contribute to a sense of impending crisis. Diplomatic channels buzzed with activity as nations sought to navigate the delicate balance of power. The missed shot had averted an immediate catastrophe, but it left Europe standing on a precipice, teetering between peace and war. This period of heightened vigilance and diplomatic maneuvering set the stage for future events. The fragility of peace was laid bare, and the interconnectedness of European politics became increasingly apparent. The missed shot may have spared the Archduke's life, but it also served as a stark reminder of the ever-present tensions that could erupt at any moment. As Europe grappled with the immediate aftermath, the question remained: could the continent maintain its delicate balance, or was it merely delaying the inevitable? The world watched and waited, aware that the next move could change the course of history forever. In the wake of the failed assassination attempt on Archduke Franz Ferdinand, Europe found itself in a precarious position. The delicate balance of power was at risk, and the continent's leaders knew that one wrong move could ignite a catastrophic conflict. Diplomatic efforts intensified as key figures sought to prevent escalation and maintain peace. One of the central figures in this diplomatic dance was Count Leopold Berchtold, the Austro-Hungarian foreign minister. Berchtold, determined to assert his nation's dominance, faced the challenge of responding firmly to the assassination attempt without provoking a wider conflict. His strategy involved a careful blend of stern warnings and calculated restraint, aimed at quelling nationalist fervor in the Balkans while avoiding a direct confrontation with Serbia's allies. In Germany, Chancellor Theobald von Bethmann-Hollweg played a crucial role. Aware of the fragile alliance system, Bethmann-Hollweg worked tirelessly to reassure Austria-Hungary of Germany's support, while simultaneously urging caution. He understood that a hasty military response could draw in other powers and trigger a chain reaction. His efforts focused on maintaining the alliance's strength without crossing the threshold into open warfare. France, under the leadership of President Raymond Poincaré, adopted a more cautious approach. Poincaré, wary of Germany's ambitions, sought to strengthen ties with Russia and ensure that France was prepared for any eventuality. However, he also recognized the importance of diplomacy in averting a crisis. French diplomats engaged in back-channel communications, emphasizing the need for restraint and dialogue. In Russia, Foreign Minister Sergei Sazonov faced a delicate balancing act. Russia's commitment to supporting Slavic nations in the Balkans was well known, but Sazonov understood the devastating consequences of a full-scale war. His diplomatic efforts focused on mediating between Austria-Hungary and Serbia, advocating for a peaceful resolution while preparing for the possibility of conflict. The United Kingdom, under Foreign Secretary Sir Edward Grey, played the role of a cautious mediator. Grey, aware of the interconnectedness of European politics, sought to facilitate dialogue and prevent any rash decisions. His diplomatic efforts were aimed at maintaining the balance of power and preventing any single nation from dominating the continent. As these key figures navigated the treacherous waters of diplomacy, secret meetings and urgent telegrams became the norm. The fate of Europe hung in the balance, with every decision carrying the weight of potential catastrophe. While the immediate crisis was averted, the underlying tensions remained. The diplomatic negotiations of this period highlighted the intricate web of alliances and rivalries that defined early 20th century Europe. It was a time of heightened vigilance, where the actions of a few could determine the fate of millions. The missed shot had set the stage for a complex interplay of diplomacy, strategy, and power. The leaders of Europe, aware of the stakes, worked tirelessly to maintain peace, but the question remained: how long could they keep the continent from descending into chaos? The world watched as the dance of diplomacy continued, each step a delicate balance between war and peace. In this alternate timeline where the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand did not ignite the flames of World War I, the world witnessed a markedly different trajectory for some of its most powerful empires, most notably the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire, often referred to as the sick man of Europe, had been on a slow decline for centuries. However, without the devastating impact of a global war, the empire found a brief reprieve. The absence of large-scale conflict allowed the Ottomans to focus on internal reforms and modernization efforts that had previously been overshadowed by external threats and internal strife. Under the leadership of Sultan Mehmed V and later his successors, the Ottoman Empire embarked on a series of ambitious reforms aimed at revitalizing its economy, military, and political structures. These reforms, inspired by Western models yet tailored to fit the unique context of the Ottoman state, began to show promise. Infrastructure projects, such as the expansion of railways and the modernization of ports, facilitated trade and economic growth. Educational reforms, including the establishment of new universities and technical schools, aimed to cultivate a skilled workforce capable of driving further innovation. However, this period of rejuvenation was not without its challenges. The empire's diverse population, comprised of various ethnic and religious groups, continued to grapple with issues of identity and autonomy. Nationalist movements, emboldened by the global trend toward self-determination, posed a significant threat to the unity of the Ottoman state. The Young Turks, a revolutionary group advocating for constitutional government and modernization, played a crucial role in shaping the political landscape, often clashing with more conservative elements within the empire. Despite these internal tensions, the Ottoman Empire's strategic position allowed it to play a pivotal role in regional diplomacy. The empire maintained a delicate balance between aligning with European powers and asserting its own sovereignty. This balancing act was exemplified in its relationships with the British and Russian empires, both of whom had vested interests in the region. As the years passed, the Ottoman Empire experienced a gradual decline, unable to fully overcome the deep-seated issues that had plagued it for centuries. The rise of nationalist movements within its territories, coupled with external pressures from European powers, eventually led to the disintegration of the empire. However, this process was more gradual and less violent than in our original timeline, allowing for a more orderly transition to successor states. The legacy of the Ottoman Empire in this alternate timeline is one of resilience and adaptation. While it ultimately could not escape the forces of change, its leaders' efforts to modernize and reform left a lasting impact on the region. The empire's reprieve, though temporary, offered a glimpse of what might have been, a world where empires could evolve rather than collapse under the weight of global conflict. As we reflect on this alternate history, we are reminded of the complex interplay between war, diplomacy, and the fate of nations. The story of the Ottoman Empire in this timeline serves as a testament to the power of resilience and the enduring quest for stability in an ever-changing world. As the Ottoman Empire navigated its path of modernization and reform, the ripples of change extended far beyond its borders, influencing socio-political landscapes across continents. The absence of a global conflict like World War I meant that many colonial territories experienced a different trajectory, one less marred by the direct consequences of European warfare. In Africa, the colonial powers were able to maintain their grip on territories longer, but the lack of a major war also meant fewer opportunities for these colonies to push for independence through the chaos of global upheaval. Nonetheless, the ideas of self-determination and nationalism continued to simmer beneath the surface. Leaders like Kwame Nkrumah in the Gold Coast, modern-day Ghana, and Jomo Kenyatta in Kenya began to emerge, inspired by the movements and reforms seen in other parts of the world, including the Ottoman Empire. In Asia, the absence of large-scale conflict allowed for a more gradual but no less significant shift in socio-political dynamics. In India, the struggle for independence continued under the leadership of figures like Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru. The British Raj, unburdened by the strains of a global war, was able to implement more reforms in an attempt to placate the growing demands for self-rule. However, these reforms often fell short of the aspirations of the Indian populace, setting the stage for a more protracted and complex journey towards independence. China too saw significant changes during this period. The fall of the Qing dynasty and the rise of the Republic of China under Sun Yat-sen and later Chiang Kai-shek were influenced by the global trends of modernization and reform. The absence of a world war allowed China to focus more on internal consolidation and development, although the country still faced significant internal strife and external pressures. In the Americas, the United States experienced a different kind of transformation. Without the impetus of joining a global conflict, the U.S. continued to develop its industrial base and expand its influence through economic and cultural means rather than military intervention. This period saw the rise of the United States as a global economic powerhouse, setting the stage for its later dominance in the 20th century. Latin America, meanwhile, experienced its own waves of change. The Mexican Revolution, which began in 1910, continued to shape the socio-political landscape of the region. The absence of a global war allowed revolutionary movements in Mexico and other parts of Latin America to gain more traction, leading to significant changes in land ownership, governance, and social structures. In Europe, the lack of a world war meant that the continent's socio-political changes were more evolutionary than revolutionary. The ideas of democracy, socialism, and nationalism continued to spread, leading to gradual but profound shifts in the political structures of many European nations. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, for example, managed to maintain its existence a bit longer, but the pressures of nationalism and internal divisions eventually led to its peaceful dissolution into successor states. The impact of these socio-political changes across continents serves as a reminder of the interconnectedness of our world. The story of the Ottoman Empire's reform and the absence of a global conflict highlights how different paths can lead to vastly different outcomes for nations and peoples. As we reflect on this alternate history, we are reminded of the countless possibilities that lie within the tapestry of our shared human experience. The absence of a global conflict like World War I not only altered the socio-political landscape but also paved the way for significant technological advancements. Without the massive diversion of resources towards warfare, nations were able to focus on innovation and development in various fields, leading to groundbreaking changes in transportation, communication, and industry. In transportation, the world saw the rapid development and expansion of the automobile industry. With no war effort to commandeer factories, companies like Ford and General Motors continued to push the boundaries of automotive technology. The introduction of assembly line production techniques revolutionized manufacturing, making cars more affordable and accessible to the general public. This period also saw the rise of the aviation industry. Pioneers like Amelia Earhart and Charles Lindbergh captured the world's imagination with their daring flights, leading to increased investment in aviation technology. Commercial air travel began to take shape, connecting distant parts of the world in ways previously unimaginable. Communication technology also experienced a significant leap forward. The absence of wartime censorship and resource allocation allowed for the rapid development of radio and telecommunication systems. Radio became a powerful medium for news, entertainment, and education, reaching millions of households and bridging the gap between different cultures and societies. The telephone network expanded, making long-distance communication more reliable and accessible. These advancements laid the groundwork for the future development of television and the internet, shaping the way we connect and share information. In the industrial sector, the focus on peacetime production led to remarkable innovations. The development of electricity and the widespread electrification of cities transformed industries and daily life. Factories became more efficient and new machinery and tools were invented to streamline production processes. The chemical industry also saw significant advancements, with the development of new materials and processes that would later revolutionize fields like medicine, agriculture, and manufacturing. The absence of a global conflict allowed for a more collaborative approach to scientific research. International conferences and collaborations flourished, leading to significant breakthroughs in various fields. The discovery of antibiotics, the development of vaccines, and advancements in medical technology improved public health and increased life expectancy. The world saw the rise of new scientific disciplines and the establishment of research institutions that would drive innovation for decades to come. As we reflect on this alternate history, we can see how the absence of a world war allowed humanity to channel its energies towards progress and innovation. The technological advancements in transportation, communication, and industry not only improved the quality of life, but also laid the foundation for the modern world we know today. It serves as a powerful reminder of the potential for human ingenuity and cooperation in shaping a better future. The technological advancements that flourished in a world without war were paralleled by profound cultural shifts and movements. The absence of global conflict allowed societies to invest not just in industry and innovation, but also in the arts, literature, and the evolution of social norms. Art experienced a renaissance of creativity and expression. Freed from the shadows of war, artists explored new styles and mediums, pushing the boundaries of what was considered possible. Movements such as Cubism, Surrealism, and Abstract Expressionism flourished, with artists like Pablo Picasso, Salvador Dali, and Jackson Pollock leading the charge. This period saw an explosion of color, form, and emotion in visual art, reflecting a world eager to redefine itself. Literature too witnessed a golden age, Writers and poets, no longer preoccupied with the themes of war and destruction, delved into the human condition, exploring themes of identity, freedom, and social justice. The works of authors like Virginia Woolf, James Joyce, and Langston Hughes spoke to a generation seeking meaning in a rapidly changing world. The Harlem Renaissance in particular became a beacon of cultural pride and artistic achievement for African Americans, influencing generations to come. Social norms evolved significantly in this alternate history. With the absence of war, societies were able to focus on issues of equality and justice. The women's suffrage movement gained momentum, leading to increased political participation and the eventual achievement of voting rights for women worldwide. This period also saw the rise of the civil rights movement, as marginalized communities demanded equal treatment and opportunities. The impact of these cultural shifts was felt in everyday life. Music, fashion, and entertainment all reflected the changing times. Jazz and blues became the soundtrack of the era, with artists like Louis Armstrong and Billie Holiday captivating audiences with their soulful performances. Fashion evolved to reflect newfound freedoms, with shorter hemlines, bolder patterns, and more relaxed styles becoming the norm. In education, progressive philosophies took root, emphasizing critical thinking, creativity, and inclusivity. Schools and universities became centers of innovation, fostering a generation of thinkers and leaders who would drive further advancements in science, technology, and the arts. As we contemplate this alternate history, we see a world where the absence of war allowed for a flourishing of human expression and social progress. The cultural renaissance that emerged not only enriched the lives of individuals but also laid the foundation for a more inclusive and compassionate society. It stands as a testament to the power of peace in unlocking the full potential of human creativity and cooperation. As we venture further into this alternate history, it's essential to examine the profound impact on global economies. The absence of large-scale conflict fostered an environment where trade relations and economic policies could thrive unimpeded by the devastation of war. Nations, no longer burdened by the immense costs of military expenditure, redirected resources towards economic growth and development. Global trade flourished, as countries focused on building mutually beneficial relationships. The establishment of international trade organizations and agreements ensured fair practices and reduced barriers, leading to an unprecedented era of economic cooperation. The flow of goods, services, and capital across borders became the lifeblood of this peaceful world, driving innovation and prosperity. Economic policies shifted towards sustainability and inclusivity. Governments prioritized investments in infrastructure, education, and healthcare, creating a robust foundation for long-term growth. The economic boom was not limited to the industrialized nations. Developing countries also benefited from the stability and opportunities presented by a world without war. Foreign aid and investment were channeled towards building resilient economies, reducing poverty, and enhancing quality of life. The absence of war also allowed for the emergence of new economic powerhouses. Countries that had been previously marginalized found their footing and contributed significantly to the global economy. This diversification of economic influence encouraged a more balanced and equitable global marketplace. Technological advancements played a crucial role in shaping this economic landscape. Innovations in transportation, communication, and energy facilitated the efficient movement of goods and services. The rise of the digital age, unhampered by the interruptions of war, accelerated economic transformation and connected the world in ways previously unimaginable. In this world of peace, multinational corporations and small businesses alike thrived. Entrepreneurship flourished, as individuals were empowered to pursue their ambitions without the looming threat of conflict. The gig economy and remote work models took root, offering flexibility and new opportunities for workers around the globe. As we analyze this alternate history, it becomes clear that the absence of war created a fertile ground for economic prosperity. Trade relations became the cornerstone of international diplomacy, fostering a spirit of cooperation and mutual benefit. Economic policies focused on sustainability and inclusivity ensured that the gains of this prosperity were shared widely, creating a more just and equitable world. This exploration of economic impacts underscores the transformative power of peace. It highlights how a world free from the ravages of war can unlock unprecedented levels of human potential and create a global economy that works for all. As we delve deeper into this alternate history, it's important to hear from the people whose lives were profoundly impacted by this era of peace and prosperity. Their stories offer a window into a world shaped by cooperation and mutual growth. In a world untested by the ravages of war, the civil rights movements took on a different yet equally powerful trajectory. Without the backdrop of global conflict, the fight for equality and justice became a central focus for many societies. Key figures like Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela still rose to prominence, but their missions were met with less resistance and more support from governments and communities alike. The absence of war meant that resources and attention could be redirected towards social justice, education, and economic equality. In the United States, the Civil Rights Act was passed even earlier in the 1950s, driven by a collective recognition of the need for genuine equality. King's dream of a society where people are judged by the content of their character rather than the color of their skin became a reality much sooner. In South Africa, Mandela's release from prison was a celebrated global event, leading to a quicker dismantling of apartheid. His vision of a rainbow nation, where all races coexisted peacefully, was achieved with less bloodshed and more international solidarity. Across the world, women's rights movements gained unprecedented momentum. Figures like Malala Yousafzai championed education for girls without the backdrop of conflict, leading to widespread reforms and greater gender equality in many nations. These milestones were not just political achievements but social revolutions that reshaped communities and fostered a global culture of inclusivity and respect. The echoes of these movements resonated far beyond their origins, creating a world where civil rights were not merely an aspiration, but a lived reality. As we reflect on this alternate history, it's clear that the absence of war allowed humanity to focus on building bridges instead of walls, fostering a world where equality and justice were not just ideals, but everyday experiences. In the absence of World War I, the world was not entirely at peace. While the global stage avoided the devastation of a world war, regional disputes and alternative conflicts emerged, shaping the geopolitical landscape in unique ways. Without the Great War, the tensions that once led to global conflict were channeled into localized disputes that required innovative diplomatic resolutions. One significant conflict arose in the Balkans, where ethnic tensions and nationalistic fervor continued to simmer. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand still occurred, but without the broader alliances pulling the world into war, the conflict remained regional. The Balkan states found themselves in a prolonged struggle, leading to the formation of a Balkan Union, an uneasy coalition aimed at maintaining stability through shared governance and economic cooperation. In Asia, the absence of European colonial powers' distraction with war allowed for a quicker rise of nationalist movements. India, under the leadership of figures like Mahatma Gandhi, achieved independence through non-violent resistance much earlier, setting a precedent for other colonies seeking self-determination. However, the transition was not without strife, as regional disputes over borders and resources led to conflicts that needed careful negotiation and international mediation. The Middle East, freed from the arbitrary borders drawn by the Sykes-Picot Agreement, saw its own share of tensions. The absence of colonial interference allowed for the emergence of new states, but the competition over oil resources and religious differences necessitated the creation of a Middle Eastern Council. This body, composed of representatives from various nations, worked towards conflict resolution and resource-sharing agreements, preventing large-scale wars but not eliminating skirmishes and political rivalries. In Europe, the absence of the Treaty of Versailles meant that Germany did not face the punitive reparations that led to economic despair and the rise of extremism. Instead, Germany evolved into a strong federal republic, navigating its regional disputes through diplomacy and economic partnerships, particularly with France, where the Franco-German alliance became a cornerstone of European stability. Latin America experienced its own share of conflicts as well, with territorial disputes between countries like Argentina and Chile reaching critical points. However, a newly formed South American Union, inspired by the European model, facilitated peaceful resolutions and economic collaborations, promoting regional stability and growth. These regional disputes and their resolutions highlight that while the world may have avoided the extensive devastation of global wars, it was not free from conflict. However, the focus on diplomacy, international cooperation, and regional unions provided alternative paths to peace. The absence of a global war allowed humanity to explore new methods of conflict resolution, emphasizing dialogue over destruction and cooperation over conquest. As we examine these alternative conflicts and their resolutions, it becomes evident that the quest for peace is a continuous journey, shaped by the ever-evolving dynamics of regional and global interactions. As we reflect on the butterfly effect, it is astonishing to consider how a single moment, a missed shot, can ripple through history, altering the course of human events in unimaginable ways. The assassination that once plunged the world into chaos now serves as a pivot point for regional conflicts and innovative diplomatic efforts. Imagine a world where the devastation of global wars is replaced by localized struggles, each demanding unique resolutions. The formation of unions and councils, the rise of nonviolent resistance movements, and the emphasis on dialogue over destruction showcase humanity's capacity for adaptation and resilience. In the Balkans, the prolonged conflict led to the creation of the Balkan Union, an entity born out of necessity, yet fostering cooperation among diverse nations. Similarly, the Middle Eastern Council emerged as a platform for managing resource disputes and religious differences, highlighting the potential for collective governance. The early independence of India, achieved through the peaceful resistance of figures like Mahatma Gandhi, set a precedent for other colonies, reshaping the global landscape of self-determination. The Franco-German alliance, a beacon of European stability, exemplifies how former adversaries can become partners in peace. Latin America's South American Union, inspired by European models, underscores the power of regional collaboration in resolving territorial disputes and fostering economic growth. Each of these scenarios underscores the profound impact of seemingly minute changes. As we ponder these alternate histories, we are reminded of the delicate balance of our world. The butterfly effect teaches us that small actions, decisions, and moments can cascade into monumental shifts, guiding us towards unforeseen futures. It is a testament to the interconnectedness of our global community and the enduring quest for peace and progress. In this reimagined world, we see the potential for a future where diplomacy prevails over conflict, where cooperation triumphs over conquest. It is a vision that inspires hope and challenges us to consider the power of our actions in shaping the destiny of humanity. Reflecting on these possibilities, we are called to embrace the lessons of the past and strive for a future where the ripples of our choices lead to a world of harmony and understanding.